Sorry about that. Is that better? Can hear? The mics can hear? The camera people can hear? Anyway, what we're going to do now is engage in a little bit of personality discussion. This is normally a 3.5-hour presentation. We're going to do in 1 hour, so we don't get the full benefit. But the schedule that they've put together for you folks is short. And this actually originates from the good work of Larry Little, who wrote a great little book called Making a Difference in the Lives of Those You Love, Live With, and Lead. If you haven't seen this or read it, it's highly recommended to help you understand yourself and others. Have all of you done the personality inventory with Larry Little? Everybody done that? Most have. Only 1 or 2 have not. What I think we'll do to save time, I want the 2 of you that have not to do it, but we won't do it right now, if that's okay. It's a fun activity, but we really don't have the full time. But before we leave here today, we'll sit down and go through that with you, okay? Because it's a delightful experience to go through, and most people have. And have you all done a personality inventory of any sort in the past? Myers-Briggs, anything like that? Yeah. And I've got the disc here. But there are many versions, not many, there are a number of versions of personality inventories. Myers-Briggs is kind of the big clinical one, and then there's DISC that came out. It's kind of a variety of that. The problem with those, they're clinical and technical, and they have all these numbers and letters and things nobody can ever remember. And Larry Little came up with a great little tool to help us remember, and that he gave us animals that help us relate to our personalities. And we're going to talk about that as we work through this. But I do want to acknowledge Larry's work, and Larry is from Decatur, Alabama. He's a coach and consultant down there, works for the Enrichment Center. He owns, manages, and runs the Enrichment Center, which is a counseling and coaching business in Decatur. And when I do it, I call it Who Lives in Your Zoo, because my wife is married to me, and she says living with you has always been like living in a zoo. So it's to help us understand who's in your zoo. But we try to do this. Larry brought this tool into Heartland Leadership Group, which is the group of consultants that are working with the HTG people to help them understand who they are and who their teammates are and their spouses and their kids, so they better manage, communicate with, and lead. But at the end of the day, we want this to have value for them at home, because that's where life really matters. And that's what we want it to have value for you at home. That's my lovely bride and I, married 33 years. That's actually in Australia, for those of you who are Australians, when we were there earlier in June. And we have 3 lovely daughters. Heidi in the middle is the oldest. Maggie on the right is second, and then Bethy, the tall one on the left, is number 3. They're all married now. We're happy about that. There's Heidi's little family, and Acacia, our oldest granddaughter on the left, is here with us today, and Evie and Anthony. Actually, they just had Lily, and we don't have Lily up there, do we? Need to update my picture. Maggie's married to Eric, and they have Asher boy, and they're happy little kids. And John and Bethy, they just got married in July, wasn't it? Yeah. And so all 3 daughters are married. If you want to transform an experience, be the only male in a house full of women. Every pet we ever had, rabbits, cats, dogs, everything, was a female. If we had a turtle, you wouldn't know what it was, but I can guarantee it would have been a woman. I'm talking about the pet turtle, not the personality. Anyway, we love to go on fun family adventures, and anyway, we're going to get right down to it. Historically, people have recognized there are 4 general personality types, and you'll kind of, as we talk through this, those of you that haven't been through this, will get a sense of what those are. But we start with the much-loved monkey. And the much-loved monkey, let me get my little monkey out. Much-loved monkey, isn't he cute, sweet, fun-loving character, and he's just people-oriented. He loves doing this kind of thing. You know, he loves being in front of people, talking, engaging, dynamic, because it's energizing. You'll see some of our personality types, this is the last thing on earth they want to do is stand in front of people. But we like people. We're energized by that. We're fun. We're very verbal. Talk a lot. My wife doesn't listen to half of what I say. The problem is she hasn't learned which half to pay attention to. And extroverted, gregarious, fun-loving people. They are so important and valuable to companies, and each company has these. They're the kind of people that are discerning. They understand the company morale and how people are feeling. And so they're kind of a barometer of what's going on in a company. Tremendous, tremendous value for all of our companies. And what we want to do is we learn to communicate, because what we're trying to do is empower these management people, these owners, to understand the personalities and how to affirm them and validate them so that they can better communicate. And one of the things that we use is a validation tool. And we use little buzzwords to help people understand. And the way you validate or affirm a monkey is through the affirmation and approval of others. And the trigger words, we call them, are looks, the way you look, touch, and my mind just went blank on the third one. Looks, touch, and, do you remember Mrs. Larry Little? You're sitting right up here in front. Looks, touch, anyway, looks and touch, affirmation of others. A monkey, of which I was and can attest to this personal experience, we didn't care about getting a good grade for the sake of getting a good grade when we were kids. We wanted a good grade because we wanted the teacher to like us. We wanted that external affirmation, and that's what monkeys do. And so what we're going to do here for a little bit of time is you're going to pair up with somebody, and you're going to pretend that you are a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, energetic, swinging from the room monkey, and you're going to affirm each other with lots of pats, hugs, appropriate hugs. We have to watch that in our workplace environment today. But appropriate touch, pat on the back, a handshake, well done, happy smiles, looks, words that sound affirming. And so you can think of a situation that you maybe encountered where you need to affirm or build up someone or communicate. So let's do that for a few minutes. Pair up with some people in groups of two if you can. If you don't have a twosome, go to three. And just spend a few minutes affirming each other by thinking of positive things to say about how valuable the other person is. Go. Do you have that embedded in your system, or can I flip screens? Okay. Okay, let's pull you back. What I'm going to do to so you have a better understanding of these, I realize, is to go over all the categories, because we're pushing into it as I think through, because we haven't had the benefit of fleshing this out in full detail. The second character we have is the leading lion, which I laid up here by the computer. The leading lion is a visionary leader. We have a room full of these people over here. A room full of them. They are big task-oriented people. If they want to paint a wall, they pull out the roller brush and they just get her done, okay? It's about getting her done, all right? We're going to build this company. We're going to sell computers. We're going to get her done, and you are going to get it done, okay? And they are that kind of person. They are also extroverted, like the monkey, but they are task-oriented extroverts as opposed to people-oriented extroverts. The monkey was people-oriented. So you see that distinction. Both extroverts, lions, they love roaring, they love getting intense. I have a little lion in me too, so I'm a monkey lion. We tend to be two of these, combination. People are different. Some are pretty balanced, but most people tend to be a combination of two. One tends to be a little more dominant, one a little more recessive. Well, let me finish going. I'm going to bounce past this screen and go to the third personality that we think about is the competent camel. And I've got my little camel here that's bouncing all over. The camel is this detail-oriented person, working on the details. As I watched you guys build your marshmallow towers earlier, I think maybe I saw some of that coming out in Nancy back there, because she got everybody kind of organized, laying out all of the spaghetti, just so. Both of you guys are camels, getting it all organized. So they love small tasks. The lion paints with the roller brush. The camel paints with the little fine brush. They're the ones that come back in and put the eyebrows on the paintings, you know? And they want details. Everything's got to be really, they love quality. If it wasn't for camels, we wouldn't have this video equipment. The technology and the details it requires. It wouldn't have computers if it wasn't for camels. The lion may have the vision. We need to build computers, something to help us. And he says, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do it. But the camel can figure that out. The monkey comes up with the game to put on the computer. What do you want to do that with math? Why should we play math? Let's play games. Okay, you get the sense? And then, but the camel is different from the monkey and the lion. They tend to be a little more introverted, a little more reserved, quiet, peaceable in some ways. Let's go to the next one. And then our tranquil turtle, our last little personality. Get a little overview of him. He's so nice, rainbow-colored turtle. Turtles are quiet, like the turtle. They are reflective. You come into a room, the lion is screaming and roaring, making everybody's life miserable by getting her done. Monkey swinging from the chandeliers, having fun. Camel sitting back there banging out the computer, trying to get the details working, and the turtle's just watching it all. Just thinking. Challenge comes up, and the lion starts barking orders. Monkey starts, running around screaming. Camel dives into doing the details, and the monkey finally says, have you thought about this? I said, turtle, I said the wrong name. The turtle says, have you thought about doing it this way? They're thoughtful, they're reflective. Do you remember the old E.F. Hutton commercials? I know some of you are way too young, but those of us who are older, they used to have a stock brokerage firm by the name of E.F. Hutton. And the old TV commercials, when E.F. Hutton speaks, what did people do? They listened. That's the way turtles are. When they speak, we should listen. Now, remember the word for the monkey? The monkey is people-oriented. The turtle is person-oriented. See the difference? People is lots. I love being in front of you people. It energizes me. My wife is a turtle. Pam, would you like to come up and be in front? No. Just the thought of it makes her heart race. A friend and colleague of mine, Brad Scow, was unfortunately put in the opportunity to have to give a public presentation to 150 leadership people next door because somebody scheduled, who didn't pay attention to details, scheduled myself in 2 rooms at the same time. And when we discovered the problem, poor Brad got pulled into it. Well, Brad's a camel turtle. Brad needs 6 months to prepare, not 2 weeks. He's been called, even last night, he said, we went out to eat last night. Rich, he's had several weeks to work on this. Last night still, he's anxious about presenting because he's a camel turtle. So anyway, the person-oriented is they are one-on-one. What makes turtles thrive is one-on-one relationships. They love those one-on-one times. They're person-oriented. They're content. They like things the way they are. Camel comes in, or the lion comes in. We're going to change the way I went to an HTG conference, and we're going to reorganize the system. Not only that, we're reorganizing the home. And if you're a camel turtle wife, look out, babes. You know, tension is coming because they just kind of like it the way they are. And so if there's a process that's going to get changed, turtles don't like it. There's a little pushback. And like our friend the camel, they are also introverted. Okay? Quiet, reflective people, content with the way things are. Turtles. Okay, let's go back now and talk. Oops, that's going to be a little trickier than I thought. I'm going to back up. Okay. Now that we have a little bit of sense of that, we talked about how to validate the monkey with the affirmation and approval of others. And the trigger words were looks and touch. Now we're going to talk about how you validate the lion. The lion likes empowerment, okay? They want to have a task given to them. And so the trigger word is empowerment, big tasks. If you want to give, like if you have a lion that works for you, you don't want to dictate how things are to be done. You want to give them the responsibility of managing that. Might just be the sale of a server system to a company. You put them, I want you to sell a server. Get out there and do it. They'll go do it. They've been empowered. A camel, if you say, I want you to sell a server, go do it, they're like, I need guidance. I need details. I need direction. They need a checklist. Lions don't do that. Lions are visionary. They see, they understand what needs to be done. They fly at a 30,000 foot level. They understand what's going on. Okay? So let's, hang on just one quick second here. I couldn't remember my other phrase. Accomplishment of the task is the validation. Accomplishment of the task, and the trigger word is empower. Accomplishment of the task, and the trigger word is empower. So let's take a few minutes pretending that we're all lions now, and we're going to empower each other by giving them a task. So pretend you are giving us, and you think about this in your families. You know, maybe a parent, maybe a sibling, maybe a child, as you start to think about who the strong-willed lions are in your life, who the fun-loving monkeys are, who the detail-oriented camels are, who the thoughtful, reflective, content turtles are. But right now we're going to all be lions, so spend a few minutes validating each other through the accomplishment of the task and empowerment. So go. Okay, let's kind of wind that up. And we should do a little sharing. Do you have any people in your lives that you know are turtles, or excuse me, lions, that you can? What did you learn anything about thinking through this process about how you can use that in their lives to communicate, or did you learn anything doing this right now? Any of you? Yeah, Nancy. Mm-hmm. Good example of how to support and share. And that's one of the things, what Nancy's doing is she's realizing what Arlen's personality is, and she's coming alongside and supporting that. Not only empowering him to complete a task, or in your situation, Keith putting up the curtains, Nancy is empowering and building strong relationships and communicating and affirming by helping, by accomplishing tasks. Organizing trips or whatever it might be, taking care of the details. And camels come in, bring that detail piece in with the lion. The lion, she may know what that lion husband wants, but she also knows that those details need to get filled in. So that's good. Did you guys have any thoughts you wanted to share? I don't want to put you on the spot. Yeah, very well done. Anybody else have any thoughts? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, give it to her, empower. Yeah, because if she likes to be that take charge, my way or the highway, I'm going to do it, get her done. Some of you who may have experienced, well, we'll talk about the downside in a little bit, but you point out another thing, and delegation typically is more effective when you delegate the result you want, not the method, because everybody executes the plan differently. Now, camels need lots of details to understand what the goal is, but you get much more done by delegating results, not methods. Otherwise, if you're delegating method, if you have to speak the method, you're micromanaging, and everything is do this, then do this, do this, do this, do this, because you're the only person who knows the way to do it. And you don't ever transfer authority and develop independent functioning in your staff. So as you understand these techniques, you can help your spouse both get things done at home, but also at the company by encouraging him to think about, if he comes home ranting and raving about some particular problematic employee or an issue, explore with them. Well, tell me about that. What's the nature of this person? And then help them think through, because you might be more creative in problem solving. Okay. We talked about, we got to go back through these slides. We move on to our camels. Do any of you have camels in your lives, those detail people that drive you nuts with details? You have one or you are one? You are one. Do you drive people nuts? Yeah. I live with, I tend to be monkey lion, and my wife is a camel turtle. And we drive each other nuts. And we could create a lot of tension over these differences if we saw them as conflicting. But the value in this is to come to understand that it's not a conflict, but a complement. And that's especially important in a relationship. so that my monkey ways create sometimes unadvisable, unwise risk, because I want to go out and do something, and her camel ways kind of break that so I don't get killed, and say, what about the details to do this safely? So she complements that strength. And then once we realize that we are different, and we've had to do that over the period of our lives, is learn, okay, this is an area where she's strong, I just back up. And she knows when to do it, this is my area, something like that, then I know to back off and let her run with it, because she does that well. Getting places on time is one of those. Monkeys can always find something else to piddle away 5 minutes. And so she'll say, this is my area, we need to be at the airport. Like I would wait and get to the airport 5 minutes before the plane leaves. And I would leave just, if it's an hour drive to the airport, an hour and we'll be there. No, we're going to be there an hour before we ought to be there so that we're comfortable. So after a few panicky moments, I've realized in that area, I submit to the better wisdom of my wife. So it's complementary, understanding. That's synergy. When you have two that are stronger together than they are, synergistic is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So that's an example of that. So anyway, if you are a camel, the way you validate camels, or if you're not a camel, the way you validate them is by details. Specifics. Those are the buzzwords, the trigger words. They love quality tasks, and the trigger word is details or specifics. Just give them all kinds of details. They love that. What we have often in the IT industry in the United States is we have lions who are running the show and camels who are fixing the computers. And sometimes those lions who started these companies were also very effective in selling. And so they're selling computers right and left. And they're coming back to the office and say, you're going to get 5 new networks up and running by Tuesday. And this is Monday at 4 o'clock. And the camel technician is saying, what? Because the camel wants quality work and details. There's no way they can get it done that quickly. And so learning the personalities in the MSP industry helps these people effectively deliver the final product that works and is done timely. So think about the camels in your life and pretend now that you are all camels and affirm each other or validate each other by talking about the quality of the task and details. So you ought to be just dumping details on each other. So let's play that role for a little bit. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, let's learn from each other a little bit. Does anybody have any stories they can tell from their own life experience of dealing with camels, or anything you've learned here this morning or this afternoon? Yes.
Larry sent me an email on Monday telling me to write a check to this organization because we were sponsoring a table at an event. So I look back through his line of emails and I read that they need to know how to list the table in your program. And I also don't know how many people are at the table, and I have no idea what time the event starts. He's going to be in charge of inviting people to sit at the table of this event. So I wrote it back. How many people can sit at the table? Did you tell her how much, who you wanted to, anyway, I asked all those questions. His response was, wow, so many questions. You're wearing me out. But then he is a monkey.
Yeah. So you've got this great, brilliant idea coming from the monkey. Let's support this organization. Let's send them some money. Great commitment, fleshing out their core values, wanting to support an organization, having some kind of an event or fundraising sort of deal, and take care of it. She's a camel. Nothing there. So she ends up having to go through all these details, and then the monkey, Mr. Monkey, has to sit down and think, okay. So, yeah. Any other stories?
So I didn't look at it, and I went to run errands in town. I'd pull up in front of Orin Title Company, and then I'd look at the paperwork, and it's insurance company stuff. I'm going, Orin Title, Philadelphia Insurance, it doesn't go. And finally it dawned on me, Tom Orin with the agency insurance company. That was so,
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah, you have to dig a little bit with the line.
Good. Any other stories?
I'm a camel and my husband's a lion, and we needed a dishwasher. And I was starting to go crazy, looking at all different kinds of dishwashers and all the specs, the size and sound, And finally he said, why don't you just let me go pick one out? And I thought about it, like, oh, okay, go ahead, you can do that, huh? And so he did. He just went and picked it out. It was fine. Because I just was getting swamped by the details. So it was an example of complementing personalities.
Yeah, very good. The fact that a lion set up the schedule that put me in 2 rooms at the same time is an example of there needed to be a camel assigned to that task. So we do see those.
Husband too, because she could have said, oh no, you won't get all the details right, but instead you gave him to go pick it out, so you empowered him, and that was a good way to validate his personality.
Yeah, useful tools, huh? Good idea. We talked earlier a little bit about the tranquil turtle being reflective, person-oriented, content, introverted. How many of you have turtles in your lives? Kids, spouse, people you know, co-workers? You know what it's like. I spent the last 8 years serving in the Iowa House of Representatives, and one of my colleagues that came in 2 years ago was an extreme turtle. And great quality work. I mean, you assign this guy to a bill and he would just work it up. But when you wanted to get a response from him, it was like dealing with a guy in slow motion. And it just, he was so thoughtful, deliberative, reflective. Okay, what's the answer? And it drives you nuts if you're not that personality, unless you understand. My wife and I talked about this gentleman, and once I realized that was his personality, all of a sudden, man, I used it, because I'd go to him for wisdom. I'd go to him for deep thoughts. I'd go to him for working hard on certain bills. So anyway, let's think about turtles. How do you validate a turtle? Remember, they're person-oriented. So what do you think is a good way to validate these people? It's one-on-one relationships. And the trigger word is time. It's time. You sit down. I mean, some of these people I coach, they're lions, and it's driving them nuts because they've got this turtle on their team. And I said, take them out to lunch and just eat together. And after you've been together for a little bit of time, start asking about people that are important in their lives. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about your spouse. What's going on? And all of a sudden they'll start warming up because you've been together for a time, thinking about those important one-on-one relationships because they're person-oriented, and they'll start warming up. And then you can communicate, get a sense of what they want. So time is that trigger word, and we validate by one-on-one relationships, building them and inquiring about them. Okay? So let's take a few minutes. You are all now turtles. Think about those turtles you have in your life and how you can use this to validate them. 1, 2, 3, go. One-on-one relationships and time. And pretend you've been together for a half an hour already looking at each other.
No, it's good.
Okay, let's come back together. We've talked a little bit about, well, let's learn together for a little bit. Any points you want to share about dealing with turtles? Interacting with them, empowering them? Stories that you've had, experiences with you?
I just said to Michelle, I said, well, maybe I'm a little bit of a turtle because I really do enjoy one-on-one interactions. I'm saying that I've met a lot of the mums at school by having coffees with them after we drop their kids off at school. I was like, so maybe I'm a bit of a turtle. She was like, Vicky, Michelle's a turtle. I said, I've never asked someone to go for a coffee. Okay, maybe I'm not. I would have thought that someone would ask me. Yeah.
Yeah, very reserved. I'm sorry. Could you restate that? She didn't hear. She's waiting for someone to invite her.
Vicky would quite happily go up and ask another mum, hey, would you like to go out for a coffee? And I would be more reserved and hope that someone would come and ask me.
Yeah. Any other turtle stories? Yeah.
I was just, I have a child, I think that's a turtle. She's young, but she enjoys, if we'll just, I was just telling her, if I'll just sit at the table while she colors. It makes her just as happy as if I was doing something with her. She just loves being near us to do something. She just wants to be in the room with one-on-one, not as a family, no offense, but she'd rather have one parent or one sibling with her doing something with her, even if they're not actually doing it, just being with her. So a lot of times if you have a child that's like that, you don't necessarily have to do a whole lot, you're just there. You know, you're just there and saying, wow, you're bringing these treasures, you know, whatever it is that they enjoy.
Good.
You
Any
know,
other?
if I'd have known all this when our kids were little, this would have helped me tremendously. Save me ripping my hair out and trying to do it in.
Think how better your pies would be.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
I'd have had more time to make pies.
you had more time, you had the right people figured out what to put in them.
That's right.
Sweet. One thing that we want to talk about when we do through this process is we see our own strengths, and we think everybody else sees us that same way. And Larry in the book talks about two myths. One, we believe that everybody shares the same value view or same worldview or sees everything the way we do. So when they see an issue, we think everybody else sees it the same way, is going to attack it the same way. The second myth is we believe everybody sees us the same way we do. Well, one of the exercises we do is we have the monkey describe that boring, tedious cat, snoozing. And we have the camel describe that crazy, flying around the room monkey. Noisy, annoying. And we have the turtles describe those bossy, rude lions. And we have the lions describe those slow, procrastinating, never get anything done turtles. And then what we do is we recognize that even though we have strength, we also have weakness. The monkey is easily rejected. There's a sense that, you know, somebody looks at you wrong. I mean, I suffer with this problem. Somebody looks at me wrong. It hurts. I was doing it for a long time. I'm not sure what that is. That this gizmo that's making that sound? Is it, you want to move to the front? Maybe my back is messing with it. I'm hot. But sorry. Anyway. I don't know why it's doing it, but it's doing it. I don't know where to put it. Try that. Whatever it's doing, Barbara, guys, I don't know how to solve the problem. Battery?
Switch A handheld.
Yes, sir. Sorry, people on camera for the construction and noise. Anyway, if I had that yellow shirt on and the lion would come up and say, "That's a hideous looking shirt. What's the matter with you? Don't you know how to dress?" I would stew on that all day, thinking that I've been rejected. If somebody said that to a lion, I was going to say, "You think I care what you think about my shirt? Get back to work." You know? I mean, it's like, and then I've talked about this Peter, this young man that's been helping me. He is a camel turtle. He is so calm and so stable. And I've seen him interacting with his kids. And it's just like, so different from me and the wild and crazy ways to take care of my kid. But anyway, we're easily rejected. We're annoying because we're always wanting to have fun, never paying attention. Lion wants to get something done. There's the monkeys over in the corner, wasting time. Unorganized. If it wasn't for somebody helping me get organized, these things would not be right. We just don't create structure well. How about our leading lion? Some of the downsides. Insensitive. What lions forget is that there is a filter between their brain and their mouth. They don't have to say everything they think. And one of the ways we describe it is behind every lion is a road full of dying people that have been on their way to success. You know those people? You know, they look behind. I know why you people are dead and dying. It's just one more task. Keep going, keep going. You know, it's 8 o'clock in the night and we should all be at home, but we're working, keep working. That's Scrooge. You know that great image of Scrooge working the little people and all? That's a quasi thing. Here it says it. They are demanding. You will work, you will bring home those sales, and you will get those computers installed tomorrow. Workaholics, they do not stop. They forget to take time to celebrate at the end of the quarter when we accomplish all of these targets. They just say, get back to work. Next quarter starts tomorrow. And so one of the things we encourage people to do as we try to consult and coach with them is to take time to share those victories. I love it. Now, some of the downside. Perfections. We use this story as a good example, I think, because it brings home the point. This is Larry's personality test, and it's really a well-designed little piece. And you know, you give it to a camel, and you say, nice design, good color, texture. I like the way you laid out the inventory and descriptions. I see there's a small little blemish here on the back, but it's otherwise a very nice piece of work. Great product. What's the one thing the camel thinks about? Why? Because their standard is perfection. And one of the things we have to help camels understand is the difference between perfection and excellence. We can live with excellence, but we can't suffer under a perfection standard. Camels are logical except on this one point. They become illogical because they cannot meet that standard of excellence. And if you're married to a camel, give up right now. You cannot meet the standard. I am constantly living under this burden of unmet expectations. But I love my wife. They can be a little critical because it isn't done right. You didn't do that right. Why didn't you do that right? You know the way that's supposed to be. No, I don't know how it's supposed to be done. I don't think like that. And sometimes camels get a little bogged down in detail. How about some of the downsides of triangle turtles? Weaknesses. They appear unmotivated in that contentment. And one of the challenges for anybody that manages is to deal with this tendency to procrastinate. And they tend to be a little bit shy, waiting for someone to invite them out. So afterwards, everybody come up and... But one of the ways we motivate turtles, we think, is we pull out our turtle tapper and we come into the... You're not working. They're thinking. They're thinking. They're thinking. They've been given this assignment, and you come along and you're rapping on their shell. What happens when you rap on the shell of a turtle? They snap. If they're a snapping turtle, if they're not a snapping turtle, what do? They pull back in, and you just keep them rapping harder and harder. Come on, come on, come on! And it just shuts them down. What does turtle need? Time. There's a box turtle. If you pick them up instead of wrapping the shoulder, you rub the tummy, eventually come out. Time. It's learning how to communicate with these other personalities. Okay. So we got this little, what's the word, spectrum, continuum is the word. We have P for people-oriented, person-oriented, T for task-oriented, E for extrovert, and I for introvert. So we start to see how these shake out. Our people-oriented extroverts are monkey. Our task-oriented extrovert is our lion. Our task-oriented introvert is our camel. And our slow-moving, quiet, reflective turtle is our person-oriented introvert. What's interesting is if you have companies chart out where people fit in each quadrant, most of our U.S., and you say U.S. because the Australian company is a little different in makeup. But what you see in the United States is very task-oriented. We have management tending to be lions and technicians tending to be camels. So you're very heavy in the task-oriented, not so high in the personal and people-oriented. And so you've got these driving companies to deliver and to keep working and never say die. And the poor camel, or the monkeys and turtles that are working there like, give me a break. Let's celebrate once in a while. Let's take some time off and go be with our families. And no, we're going to be working. Anyway, one of the things I want to show you is just a real quick visual. What happens when we work in quadrant 1 again? We get stuck on those panicky, moment by moment chaos things of focusing on self and putting out the fires. And we start to spin in circles around ourselves. And we think everybody sees the world as I do, and we think everybody sees me the way I do. And it's all about me. And I'm a lion, and I'm going to roar on you, Madam Turtle, and I'm just going to, spew out my ways, because that's my default. And what we're asking people to do is to step out of their comfort zone and learn who they are, become self-aware, but also to learn who their team is and their family so that they can relate to them and to step out of themselves and to go out and to, in effect, make a difference in the lives of those people by focusing on others and learning how others operate. And then, as you do that, though, it can be draining. It's draining on poor Brad to be over there having to speak in front of all those people. So he has to pull back into those things that energize him, whereas this energizes me. But a few minutes later, I'm going to spend, and then I have to recharge. But we all have to learn to step out of who we are and go out and connect with others. Otherwise, we're living very self-centered lives, thinking we're the only ones around, thinking this way, my way is the right way, and we're asked to think and live with an other person orientation. So we communicate better, and we are more effective. Where did I put my little trigger? See? Monkey. I lost my little butt. There it is. Anyway, people are complex. One of the things we want to do is there is no right or wrong personality. There's just different personalities. And they complement one another. And we need all of them on our team to be an effective team. And the personality tendencies are based upon our genetics from our grandparents, our environment, from our parents, the way we were raised, but likewise from our behavior. At the end of the day, that's the only thing we have a choice over. We can't control the gene, the environment we're raised in, but we can affect our behavior. Intentionally choosing to live self-aware lives, but also other-aware lives, so we know how people act and what motivates them and validates them. So anyway, we're out of time. I'm sorry that was a bit of a disjointed 1-hour version of a 3.5-hour seminar, but you got a sense of those two of you who haven't done the personality. Let's meet up right away soon. I'll give you the info. We'll talk about how to do it. So you get a sense of that, and that'll help you understand a little more fully what this is all about. Anyway, thank you, and I think it's Peter's turn next to do his thing. Thank you.